What's going on, everybody? My name is Alex Cibala if you're new here, and behind me is my 2020 Model 3. It is a long-range all-wheel drive trim. I took delivery last year on November 13th, so I've had it a little over a year and 13,000 miles. Today I'm going to be doing my full one-year review, going over every single detail on the car and how it's held up over the past year, as well as some pros and cons of my ownership experience. Before we start, keep in mind this is a Tesla vehicle, so they are constantly updating their hardware and software to improve the vehicle, so things I mentioned today may have changed even between me shooting and posting this video. And I'm going to record the rest of my audio in here because that wind noise is really bad. If I had to choose two words to describe the Model 3, they would be simple and convenient. I feel like these are the guiding principles that Tesla uses to design all their cars, and throughout this review you'll see that they chose every single feature and option carefully to either make the car more simple or more convenient to use. If we start out on the exterior of the car and just the overall design, I am a huge fan of this. I think it's really simple, sleek, and very futuristic looking, even for a 3-year-old design. I love how it looks at night too. The headlights and taillights really do pop and kind of makes this car stick out on the road a little bit. However, being a sportier car, I think it's a little bit rounded and not as aggressive as it could be, but I assume that's to keep the car more efficient. Up front there is actually a front trunk because there is no engine in this car, but to be honest I don't use this very often. To open it you either have to press the button on the touchscreen inside the car or get out your phone and press the button in the app, and by the time I do either of those it's easier to just open up the trunk or a side door to put things in my car. This is also where you fill up your wiper fluid and access the regular 12-volt battery that powers all of the internal accessories, but fortunately I haven't had any issues with either of those. When closing the front, you also have to be very careful to press gently on either side of the Tesla badge till it locks in place. You can't just slam it closed, otherwise you'll damage it. So with all of those things considered, it is nice to have, but I don't find myself using it very often. The rear trunk is huge by comparison and fits a lot, so I use this thing all the time. Mine isn't an automatic one like the 2021 model, but there is an exterior button to open it manually. Inside there is a ton of space, and those back seats do fold down as well for even more space if you do need it. There's even storage below this floor panel where I keep most of my necessities, including the Tesla mobile connector, which I definitely recommend keeping in your car at all times because you never know when you might need it. I decided to stick with the stock aero wheels on my car, which I'm actually a big fan of, but I know some people don't like them, so these do pop off to reveal a more normal looking rim. And Tesla does sell an aero cap kit to cover up those bolts in the center cap for a little cleaner look. In the winter months, I typically keep these aero wheels on just because they are more efficient, but in the summer, I either use Tesla's aero cap kit or these custom aero wheels which match the color of my car. As for tires, I know some owners have had issues with them wearing down very quickly, but so far mine are actually in pretty good shape. I actually found a bit of a Tesla pro tip if you use your Tesla key card. The space between the bottom of the card and the little line is about 6/32 of an inch, which is about where mine are at right now, so once those wear down a little bit more, I am going to need to replace them. And once I do, I will definitely do an update video and share some things on social media about it. But so far I've not had to have anything done to them. Paint is another big concern I hear from potential owners, and honestly mine looks in pretty good shape as well. I gave it a once over when I took delivery, and since then I've noticed a few spots where it could have been applied better, but nothing that ruins the car or is noticeable to somebody just walking by. At this point, I've just got general wear and tear from driving a car 13,000 miles, and with that being said, I do definitely suggest at least a front PPF on your car if it's within your budget. I never got one done, and there are now some small chips and marks on the front bumper that I wish I could have avoided. Before we move on from the exterior, we've got to talk about these door handles. This is somewhere I think Tesla tried to simplify the design but fell a bit short, making them convenient. This is definitely one of the most unique door handles I've ever seen, and another compromise Tesla made to make the car more efficient. I think they look great on the exterior, but in practice they can sometimes be a bit difficult to use. The easiest way to open them for me is to just press my thumb into the wider part and pull on the skinny part with my other fingers. Pretty straightforward if you have a free hand, but if your hands are full, it's a bit difficult to open with just 1 or 2 fingers. And as soon as you give someone a ride for the first time, you usually have to explain how to open the doors. To close the doors, you also have to slam them shut for some reason. If they aren't closed all the way, they can kind of get stuck in this in-between spot and can't just be pushed closed like other cars. You have to open the car door again and then slam it closed. If we move on to the phone app, I think this is easily the most convenient feature of owning a Tesla vehicle. Tesla eliminated the traditional key fob with the Model 3. As you may already know, your phone is now your key with the Model 3. So to get into the car, it's super easy. All you have to do is have the Tesla app installed on your phone, Bluetooth turned on, and the car will unlock as soon as you pull the door handle when you're next to the car. And I absolutely love this. I've had keyless entry on most of my past cars and it is awesome. But even more awesome is the walk-away door lock. So once I leave my car, it will automatically lock once I get far enough away. So I never have to worry about keys or forgetting my keys or anything related to that. It's almost impossible to forget to lock your car now, and if you do want to check, you can look in the Tesla app and confirm your car is locked. The feature I use most often in the app is probably the climate controls, so if it's really hot out, I will turn on the AC before I head out to my car so it's all cooled off when I get there. Or if it's freezing like it is out right now, I can heat it up and have it warmed up before I get to my car. Even turn on the heated seats if I want to. I did this all the time last winter. It actually melts off the windshield as well, so I don't have to worry about scraping my car off when I get out to it. It is all warmed up and ready to drive. And since this is an electric car, you can actually preheat or pre-cool your car while it's sitting in your garage with the garage door closed, something a gas car definitely can't do. The app is also where you can summon the car. I think I've used just the regular summon a few times to get out of some tight parking spots, but smart summon I don't think is as useful. It's really just easier to walk to your car at this point. But as it improves, I see that being a very convenient feature, especially if it's raining or something like that. At the very bottom of the app is actually your odometer and VIN number, which is handy when you've got to fill out paperwork with different car information. Another convenient feature. Probably the only thing I don't like about the app is it can be a little bit slow sometimes, and I have had a few situations where my phone key won't connect when I get up to the car and I have to pull on the door handle a couple times before it actually opens. And it also doesn't have all the features that I've been looking for. They're just simple things like connecting your car to Wi-Fi or adjusting the charge current when you're plugged in. But the beauty of software is it can be changed in the future, so these are all things that Tesla could add eventually. Tesla said they eventually want your phone to act as a backup for the touchscreen if it dies for some reason, so hopefully that update is coming soon. Moving on to the interior now, sticking with the theme, you'll probably notice just how simple and bare it is in here. Very few buttons and knobs of any sort. But before we get into the details, let's talk about these doors again. So to get out of the car, there is not a traditional pull handle, but a single button to exit the car. So I typically just grab that and push my thumb on the button and push out with my forearm to exit the vehicle. And once you get used to it, it's pretty comfortable, but again, if somebody is new to your car, you have to explain it just about every time. The interior is really nice. Everything is vegan leather. I've also got the updated vegan leather steering wheel, and it does feel very premium. It might not feel as high-end as maybe a Mercedes or BMW, but it definitely gets the job done and still feels luxury. I think my biggest dislike on the interior is just all of this glossy black plastic. It just gets a ton of smudges and stuff on it, and you have to keep it clean all the time. But it seems they have fixed that on all of the new 2021 Model 3, so I'm very happy about that. The sound system is very impressive. It is super balanced and has a really good full sound that makes just about every song sound good in here. I'm not an audiophile by any means, but there are plenty of reviews of this sound system that give it really high praise and plenty of great breakdown videos on YouTube if you want to check some of those out. If you don't get a brand new Model 3 with the built-in wireless charger, I definitely recommend getting one for right here. This is where I stick my phone anytime I'm driving, and it's way easier than plugging in a charger, and my phone stays charged. This center console is also absolutely huge. There is no gear tunnel, so this goes all the way down to the floor, and you've got plenty of space to store things if necessary. As for the seats, I think they are comfortable, but do feel a little bit small for me sometimes, which might just be because I'm a bigger person, so that's understandable. And just like any other car, they get uncomfortable after a long drive. If I've been driving for about 2.5 hours, I definitely need to stop and stretch for a bit. So Tesla's main way of simplifying the interior is with this giant touchscreen, which is probably the first thing you notice anytime you've sat in a Tesla. And this is the only screen in the whole car with the Model 3. There is no heads-up display, no dashboard screen, or anything else. This took a little bit of getting used to at first since I had to turn to the side a little bit to see my speed and other car details, but after a few hours of driving, I was used to it, and I actually like having it off to the side for a more clean look overall. My favorite part of this touchscreen is definitely the map. Previous to this car, I would always have to find a place to mount my phone so I could have my GPS up while I'm driving. But now I've got this giant map to look at all the time, and navigation is so much easier. The touchscreen might seem a little bit overwhelming at first with all the settings and information on it, but I actually love how much control it gives you over the car. And because the car is so software heavy, Tesla is constantly adding new features to the touchscreen and fixing any bugs that might pop up. One of the only things I think I wish had a physical dial would probably be the climate controls, because sliding the touchscreen to change the temperature or adjust the vents while driving is a bit difficult. Though it does look cool, I think if there was a way to control the climate using the steering wheel, that would be a lot easier. The glove box also has a software button for some reason, but I think I would be okay with that if they moved it off of the settings menu, either up to the top bar or to the left side so it's available at all times. Right now it's a 2-touch process to open the glove box, which is too much. I've also done a complete walkthrough of the Tesla touchscreen, so if you want to see that video, I will have that link down below as well. Some other random software features I like. Sentry mode definitely comes to mind, which monitors the car and will record around the car if it senses motion while it's parked. Thankfully, I haven't had any issues with people hitting my car while I'm away or vandalizing it, but it definitely gives me some peace of mind knowing that if something like that happened, I will have it recorded. The built-in dash cam is also very helpful for the same reason, and it is recording all the time while I'm driving. Again, super convenient if I were to get into an accident, I have that all recorded. So finally, we are on to driving, easily the most fun part of owning a car like this. This thing is just so enjoyable to drive, and Tesla, like the rest of the car, has made this extremely simple. Once you hop in the car, it is ready to drive and turned on. No need to press a start button or twist a key, just put your foot on the brake, shift into drive, and go. And since there is no transmission, this thing has instant torque and some insane acceleration. I haven't done a full 0 to 60 test yet, but Tesla rates it at 4.4 seconds. Which is way quicker than most cars on the road and definitely more than you need in an everyday vehicle. And not only is this fun, but I also feel a lot safer driving a car with this kind of performance, so I can get out of bad situations quickly on the road if I need to. And overall, I just feel like I've never been more comfortable or capable driving a car. Sitting in the driver's seat really feels like you're sitting in the cockpit with that touchscreen and map to the right, and the performance of the car, you are in complete control of everything, and the car responds well to just about anything you put it through. And that is just when you are manually driving. When you switch on autopilot, things get even better. So here's the thing with autopilot. When it works, it is the most convenient part of driving this car long distance, but autopilot still needs supervision. Autopilot is actually named after the same system that is used in most aircrafts, and even in planes, autopilot is not meant to replace a human pilot. It merely acts as an assistant to the pilots so that they can focus on more important things like weather and the trajectory of the plane. So Tesla Autopilot will do a lot, but again, it is still an assistant. I treat it like a tool, and sometimes tools fail. When it's enabled, it basically is just extra eyes on the road for me, and can usually anticipate cars in front of me slowing down faster than I can. This definitely takes away a lot of the stress of highway driving, but there's also random situations it comes across that it can't handle and will ask me to take over. I've also had some issues with phantom braking where my car will just completely slam on the brakes out of nowhere and I have to be ready to take over at that moment. But here's the thing, before you comment that I'm dissing Autopilot here, Autopilot has gotten way better than it used to be when I first got my car. It used to be really choppy around curves, now that is gone. It used to sway back and forth within the lane, now that is gone. There's been probably over a dozen software updates since I got my car to improve Autopilot, and it has gotten really good. On the highway, it probably does something like 90% or more of the driving, and I am completely happy with that. I actually had basic autopilot for the longest time, which is essentially just adaptive cruise control and will keep you in your lane, but I recently upgraded to enhanced autopilot. This adds a lot of features, but I think auto lane change is easily my favorite. So on basic autopilot, if you needed to change lanes, you had to disable autopilot, change lanes, and then re-enable autopilot. With auto lane change, it will do all of this automatically, so as soon as you hit the turn signal and there is space in the lane you are moving to, it will make that lane change for you. It also takes interchanges and exits, which works smoothly about half the time. Some interchanges are completely fine, others it slams on the brakes for some reason or swerves a lot trying to get into the other lane, so I'm always ready to take over when it's attempting those sort of things. But again, don't let my experience here scare you at all. Like I said, this thing is a tool, and the more you use a tool, the more comfortable with it you get. You know when things might go wrong, you know when you need to take over, and this is still a tool I use all the time, and I am very grateful that I have it. We're almost wrapped up with this review, and we are just now getting to charging in the battery, which means it can be extremely easy to live with an electric car if you've got a good charging situation. And again, this goes back to that convenience factor. It is extremely convenient to just charge where you live or work while your car is parked anyway. You can just plug in at home, let your car charge overnight, or if you've got charging at your office, you can plug in there and be charged up by the time you leave. And that is why I generally don't recommend an EV unless you have access to charging on a daily basis. When I got my car last November, it was awesome. I drove to work, I plugged in my car, and it was up to 90% by the time I left every day, which was great. But then, as some of you are aware, in the world, things kind of took a turn for the worse, and I'm fortunate to still have a job, but I now have lost access to my charging at work every day. So now driving an electric car is just about as convenient as it was driving a gas car. I either take a trip once a week to my local supercharger or drive over to a level 2 charger close to my apartment complex and just plug in for a few hours and walk and grab it when it's done. On some occasions, I will even plug into a 120 volt outlet at my apartment here, and that is definitely not as convenient as plugging in your garage. I still think the ideal setup is just charging at home. You really can't get more convenient than that, in my opinion. So I'm definitely looking forward to the time when I have a garage or even just an outdoor outlet where I can reliably charge every day. Charging for road trips is a lot different than charging just for your commute or getting around town, and this is an area where I think Tesla has made it as simple and convenient as they can with current technology. When you're traveling, the Tesla computer will automatically route you through superchargers to reach your destination and will make sure that you don't run out of charge. When you actually get to the supercharger, charging is super simple. You just back in and plug in your car and it will start charging. Tesla uses the credit card attached to your Tesla account and it is automatically billed. Charging takes anywhere from 10 to 35 minutes depending on how much I need to charge. And before I started using referral miles, these charges cost anywhere from $5 to $10 depending on how much charge I needed. Making these stops for supercharging can add a little bit of time to road trips, but it really isn't that big a deal if you've got less than a 4-hour drive, which has been the majority of my trips so far. If you're making a longer trip over multiple hours and making multiple charging stops, it could definitely add time to your trips, but if you are already stopping every 3 hours or so on a long trip like that to eat or use the bathroom, it is not as big a deal as you might think. I think the bigger thing to worry about on road trips is where you're going to charge when you actually arrive at your destination. I'm typically staying with family, and just having a 120 volt outlet to plug into is really nice. It does charge incredibly slowly, but that can add up. I see anywhere from 40 to 50 miles charged overnight, which is a big help. So overall for me, I think just finding my charging routine was the most important thing here. I found that there's a supercharger pretty close that I can hit up if I need to charge really fast, but there's also some level 2 chargers around my apartment where I can go plug in and charge fast if I need to. And I think it's really as convenient as you want to make it. If you want to try to charge for free and just use public chargers, you can do that. But I think the best bet is just getting a charger installed in your garage so you can plug in at any time. As for battery degradation, I haven't experienced a ton of it. When I got the car, it fully charged to around 310 miles. That is now down to 296 miles. But again, that is more of an estimate from the car more than anything else. If I do drive more efficiently, I could easily squeeze out 320 plus miles out of my car. The car also has an 8-year, 100,000 mile battery and drivetrain warranty, so if my car experiences more than 30% of battery degradation in that time period, they will replace the pack for free. Battery degradation does typically level off after the first year, so I am not too worried about that right now. I've been very fortunate with my car that I haven't had any major repairs or maintenance done. I really haven't had much done at all, really. I had some small trim issues on the interior. They just had some trim that was shaped a little bit weird, so I had them come out and fix that, but that was all under warranty. And scheduling service for those fixes was super easy. You can actually do it within the app, so you just plug in the category of what you need looked at or what you need fixed, and most stuff can actually be done by mobile service. So for those trim pieces, I just had a Tesla mobile service tech come out to my office, did everything in the parking lot, gave it a little test drive to make sure everything looked okay, and then plugged my car back in for me. Again, super simple and convenient. The car also comes with a 4-year, 50,000 mile limited warranty that covers any kind of workmanship issues, so I am covered for another 3 years under that. So my final thoughts here, overall, the Model 3 is an excellent car. It's been my dream car and the car I've wanted to buy since they first announced it back in 2016. I am very glad that I did wait till I was in a better financial situation to buy the car and was actually able to buy more car because they lowered the price. I originally was looking at either a standard range or mid-range, and after I saved up a little bit more, I was able to get the all-wheel drive trim, which I really enjoy and definitely recommend if you're kind of on the fence, go for more range. Lots of things can also affect the range, so if you do run into weather or for some reason you can't find a plug, having that extra buffer definitely gives you a lot of peace of mind. Looking forward to the future of this car, I definitely want to make some upgrades. A lot of them are just kind of cosmetic. Definitely want to do a chrome deletes, maybe get my windows tinted, make some other small changes. Definitely do want to get a front PPF at some point just to protect my bumper a little bit more. But overall, this car has held up extremely well. It is my daily driver. I drive it anytime I can. I offer to drive anytime I can, so I am very happy with it, and I am very much looking forward to owning this car for a long time. If you watch this video all the way through, thank you so much. I put a lot of work into this, trying to make it as comprehensive a review as possible. So if you did enjoy it and found it valuable, definitely hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. I put out all kinds of content, not just with the Model 3, but also other EVs as well. If I missed anything here, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I answer everybody's questions as long as it's related to the Model 3, and I'm happy to explain or go more in depth on anything about the vehicle. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.